All right, JD asks Pastor Steve, is the mark of the beast enforced before or after the abomination of desolation by the Antichrist in the tribulation period? I've never come to a good conclusion on this. Thanks so much. God bless you guys. What do you say to JD?
You know, JD, it looks to me like it's after the abomination of desolation. What you have with the Antichrist, and I can give you a bunch of verses. You need to read about him in the book of Daniel, and then come to the New Testament and go through the book of Revelation. It looks like the first 3.5 years with the Antichrist, he's not somebody that the world is looking at as an evil, sinister person. In other words, he doesn't come with a black cape and a black hat and a long mustache going, and that kind of stuff. And so the reason he's called the Antichrist or a false Christ is because he's pretending to be the real thing. And so there's this period of time where he's consolidating power, and it's not until the abomination of desolation that he really shows his colors. And it's at that point when he goes into the temple, this is in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and sits down in the holy place, the Holy of Holies in the temple, and proclaims himself to be God, that he really shows who he is. That corresponds with Revelation chapter 13 and the persecution that comes specifically from the Antichrist and the false prophet. And so that wouldn't be something that's conducive to a rise to power. In the sense of specifically trying to trick people into following him. There's indications in Scripture that the Jews believe him to be the Messiah. And obviously, somebody who's doing major persecution of people who will not take a mark, that's problematic if you're trying to compare it to the Jewish Messiah. So there's a period of time where he's proclaiming himself to be somebody who's bringing peace. In fact, in the book of Daniel, it says that by peace he destroys many. And it looks like then after that would be after the abomination of desolation, that he would bring out the whole thing with the mark of the beast and begin the major persecution. When you go through and you look at what Jesus has to say about the tribulation period in Matthew chapter 24, he kind of does that. What Jesus talks about is the fact that there's going to be deception that's going to be taking place. He says there are going to be people who say that I am Christ and will deceive many. He talks about wars and rumors of wars. He talks about pestilences and famines in various places. And he says these are the beginning of sorrows. Then he talks about being delivered up to tribulation and kill you, and you'll be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Those would be people who wouldn't be following the Antichrist because they would have some inside information. In other words, they read their Bibles. Many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. Verse 15, he says, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel standing in the holy place, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. And then Jesus says, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world in this time, until this time, no nor ever shall be. And so Jesus makes it clear that even though the first part of the tribulation contains major issues, warfare and pestilences and famines and that kind of stuff. By the way, all that stuff can come from warfare. And even the issue with persecution, it's not until after the abomination of desolation that it really gets gnarly. And so it looks like that's where that would fit in to me. That's my take on it.
So when it comes to the mark of the beast, this is something that people are going to know, right? It's not going to catch you off guard like, oh, whoops, I took the vaccination, didn't know that was the mark of the beast, or whatever it is that people like to come up with. It's specifically a spiritual decision that you know that is going to lead you into following the Antichrist.
Oh, actually, that's a really good point, Matt, because specifically the mark of the beast is connected with worship of the beast. Mm-hmm. And worship of the beast isn't going to take place until after he reveals himself to be a god. And so that's another really good point. Revelation chapter 14 talks about God giving the people of the earth warnings before they take the mark, and letting them know that this is a deal breaker. If you take the mark, then you're going to hell, and it's because, again, it's connected with the worship of the beast.